A hidden letter shattered our Thanksgiving, its words branding Liora, 62, a forgotten founder. The Montana ranch hummed with turkey's warmth, but icy judgment chilled the air. This crumpled note buried in dust held a secret that could tear family bonds apart or heal them through forgiveness. Shock gripped hearts as truth emerged, sparking empathy where pain once ruled. Unlike vengeful tales, this story mends with love. What family secrets have you faced? Join us for emotional family stories. Share yours below. The Montana ranch sprawls under a November sky frost, clinging to golden fields like a delicate lace. It's Thanksgiving 2025, and the air carries the sharp bite of pine, mingling with the faint aroma of roasted turkey drifting from the weathered ranch house. Inside, the wooden floors creak under my boots, each step echoing in the quiet before the storm of family arrives. I'm Liora, 62. And this house my family's for generations feels both home and cage today. Before sitting, I slip to the kitchen to pack a meal for Mrs. Larson, my neighbor, a subplot of caregiving that anchors me. The social issue of loneliness binds us. She's alone this holiday like I feel now. I wrap turkey and pie my hands steady despite the ache in my chest. You're too good to me, Mrs. Larson texts back her words, a small warmth against the cold of my family's judgment. Back in the dining room, the table groans under casseroles, pies, and cranberry sauce, a Montana harvest spread that promises unity but feels hollow. George raises a glass, his grin wide but empty. To family, he says, and Beatrice echoes, family. Clara joins in, but her eyes linger on me, sensing the fracture. The Montana ranch house hums with the clatter of plates, the dining room bathed in the flickering glow of candles. It's Thanksgiving 2025, and the air is thick with the scent of cranberry sauce and roasted turkey, a deceptive warmth that can't mask the chill in my heart. I'm Liora, standing at the edge of the table, the family's voices weaving a net of tension around me. George, Beatrice, and Clara are seated, their plates piled high, but their words cut deeper than any knife. The letter in my pocket with its word founder feels like a secret I'm not ready to share, not when their judgment already weighs so heavy. I adjust a serving dish, trying to anchor myself in the routine of dinner. The loneliness is a quiet pulse, sharper now as I feel like an outsider in my own home. Their dismissal of my nonprofit, my life's work, has carved a hollow space inside me, one that no amount of holiday cheer can fill. I'm 62, and the world's moved on to screens and apps I stumble over, leaving me behind. Liora, sit already. George calls, his voice booming over the table. At 58, he's all rancher bravado, his hands rough from years of wrangling cattle. His grin is wide, but there's a glint in his eye that promises trouble. In a minute, I say, my voice steady, despite the knot in my chest. Clara, 52, offers a gentle smile, her presence a small comfort. Beatrice. Gdee sips her wine, her gaze sharp behind her glasses. George leans back, fork in hand. So, Liora, tell us about that charity of yours, he says, his tone dripping with mockery. What was it, handing out sandwiches to folks who didn't need 'em? His laugh, a sound as trigger, slices through the room, loud and cruel. Beatrice chuckles, a low agreeing hum, and the table falls quiet, all eyes on me. The words hit like a slap, and I freeze my hands, gripping the edge of the table. They're tearing apart what I built. My monologue rages. That nonprofit fed families, gave them home's hope, and they reduce it to a joke. The emotional roller coaster shifts from the stability of dinner to a gnawing unease. The public judgment, a weight I can't shake. Clara clears her throat. George, that's not fair. Leora's work must have helped someone. Her voice is soft, but it's drowned by George's snort. Helped her waste time, maybe, he says, and Beatrice nods, adding, The ranch needed you, Liora, not some pipe dream. The dialogue stings each word, a public dismantling of my legacy. I want to scream, to pull the letter from my pocket and shove it in their faces, but my throat tightens, the words trapped. A flashback cuts through the haze. It's 2010, and I'm in the nonprofit's office, the air buzzing with purpose. I hand a mother a grocery voucher, her eyes shining with gratitude. You're a godsend, Liora, she says, and I smile, feeling whole. Back in the present, George's laugh pulls me back, the contrast jarring. They don't know, I think. They never asked. I turn retreating to the kitchen, my hands clutching the counter, a signature emotional moment. The cool granite steadies me, but my heart pounds. Honesty could clear this fog, I think a lesson forming. If I speak, if we talk, maybe they'll see. Dialogue is the solution, but it feels like climbing a mountain. The social issue of loneliness wraps around me. I'm isolated not just by their words, but by my silence. My phone buzzes a text from Mrs. Larson, my neighbor, a subplot of caregiving. Feeling poorly tonight, Liora. Thanks for the meal. Her reliance exhausts me, yet it's a tether to purpose. I reply promising a visit, but the weight of her loneliness mirrors mine, deepening the ache. Outside, the family moves to the porch where a bonfire crackles, a Montana post-dinner tradition. The fire's glow dances on their faces, but I stay in the kitchen, the counter still under my palms. The Montana ranch house feels like a pressure cooker, the dining room's warmth mocked by the storm brewing inside me. It's Thanksgiving 2025, and the table laden with turkey stuffing and pies groans under the weight of our family's unspoken grudges. Candlelight flickers, casting shadows on the oak walls, but it can't soften the sharp edges of George's words or Beatrice's knowing smirks. I'm Liora, 62, and the letter in my pocket calling me founder is a secret I clutch like a lifeline. My family's judgment piled high, like the food before us, threatens to bury me. The loneliness, a constant companion, tightens its grip as I stand among them, feeling utterly alone. I pour wine, my hands steady despite the fire in my chest. George's mockery from earlier, calling my nonprofit a waste, still burns, and Beatrice's agreement stabs deeper. Clara, the only one who seems to see me, passes a bowl of mashed potatoes, her eyes gentle. But even her kindness can't dull the ache of being dismissed in my own home, a place where I should belong, but don't. Liora, you gonna eat or just play waitress? George says, his voice loud, his grin taunting. He leans back, his rancher's bulk dominating the table. Beatrice chuckles, adjusting her glasses, her silence a second blow. The tension, a coiled spring, is ready to snap. I set the wine bottle down, my voice low but firm. Maybe I'm just tired of hearing how I failed George. The words slip out, an emotional hook that stills the room. Clara's fork pauses midair, and Beatrice's smile falters. George laughs a harsh bark. Failed. You did that all on your own, sis. That charity of yours handing out free lunches instead of helping the ranch, pure foolishness. His words are a public gut punch tearing into my nonprofit's legacy, my legacy. Beatrice nods, her tone icy. You could have been useful, Liora. The ranch struggled while you played hero. Her words twist the knife, and the family's eyes bore into me, a jury delivering their verdict. My heart pounds, the loneliness roaring. They don't know my monologue seethes. They don't know the families I fed, the homes I saved. They see a failure, not a founder. The letter's weight in my pocket screams for release, but I'm not ready, not yet. Instead, rage and despair collide. You think you know everything, don't you? I snap, my voice rising. You never asked what I did, what it meant? George scoffs, leaning forward. What it meant? It meant nothing, Liora. Nothing. The room blurs, and I slam my glass on the table. A signature emotional moment, the sharp clink echoing my breaking point. Wine splashes red droplets staining the linen. The silent scene follows the family, frozen their faces, a mix of shock and disapproval. Clara's eyes widen, but even she stays silent. The high-stakes scene unfolds as the divide deepens. George glares. Beatrice crosses her arms, and I'm alone against them all. I'm done, I say, my voice trembling but clear. I storm out the screen door, banging behind me as I reach the porch. The cold November air bites my face, snowflakes swirling under the porch light. The bonfire from earlier smolders in the distance, its embers a faint glow against the vast dark fields. I grip the railing, my breath ragged, the emotional roller coaster plunging from tension to despair. They've fractured us, I think. Their words have broken what little we had left. My phone buzzes, a subplot of caregiving, pulling me back. It's Mrs. Larson, my neighbor, feeling worse. Liora, can you check tomorrow? Her frailty mirrors my own, the social issue of loneliness binding us. I text back, promising a visit, but my hands shake the weight of her need, and my family's rejection overwhelming. The dining room table, set with my mother's old linen, waits for faces I love and dread. My brother George, his fiancée Clara, my sister-in-law Beatrice. They're coming, and their voices sharp with judgment already haunt me. I pause by the window, watching snowflakes dust the porch. My reflection stares back lines, etched deep from years of carrying more than I let on. They think I failed, gave up on dreams, let the family down. My nonprofit, the one I poured my soul into, is a forgotten footnote to them, a waste of time. The loneliness stings a quiet ache that's grown since I stepped back from that work. I'm disconnected not just from them but from the world that's moved on to apps and screens I can't quite grasp. "Liora, you ready?" Clara's voice calls from the kitchen, warm and new to this family. She's 52, an outsider who doesn't yet carry our baggage. I like her for that. "Almost," I reply, forcing a smile. I head to the attic to grab extra chairs, the ladder groaning as I climb. The attic smells of dust and memory boxes stacked like silent sentinels. A shaft of light cuts through the gloom, catching a small yellowed envelope tucked between crates. My breath catches an emotional hook that stops me cold. The envelope's edges are worn. The ink faded, but familiar. My name in a stranger's hand stares back. I kneel, heart thudding, and open it. The letter, a symbolic object, crinkles as I unfold it. "Dear Liora," it begins. "Your nonprofit changed our lives. The food, the shelter you gave us, hope when we had none. Thank you, founder. The word hits like a stone. I haven't heard it in years, not since I stepped away, letting others take credit while my family called it a failure. Who wrote this? Why is it hidden here? Who am I really? The thought swirls a monologue of doubt and intrigue. I built something that mattered, but they see me as less. Was I wrong to pull back to let their words define me? The attic's silence presses in, amplifying my loneliness. I trace the letter's ink, a signature emotional moment, remembering late nights, planning, dreaming of a community lifted up. Those dreams feel distant now, buried under years of silence. Downstairs, the doorbell chimes. George's voice booms, "Liora, where you at?" His tone carries that familiar edge, the one that says I'm already lacking. Clara laughs softer, and Beatrice's clipped greeting follows. They're here, and the tension I've dreaded settles like frost. I tuck the letter into my pocket, its weight a quiet promise. Maybe honesty can break this wall between us. I think a lesson stirring. If I speak, if we talk, could we find the truth? The solution feels fragile, but it's there. Dialogue, a chance to uncover what's been buried. I descend the ladder, the attic's secrets lingering behind me. Before joining them, I slip out to check on Mrs. Larson, my neighbor, a subplot of caregiving that grounds me. Her porch light glows weakly, and I knock the cold, biting my knuckles. "Liora, you're a saint," she says, her voice frail as she takes the groceries I brought. "Thanksgiving's lonely without family." Her words mirror my own ache, the social issue of loneliness binding us. I nod, promising to return, but the letter burns in my pocket, pulling me back to the house. The dining room hums with chatter as I enter the Montana turkey potluck tradition, alive in the spread of casseroles and pies. George, 58, sprawls in his chair, his rancher's hands rough, but idle. Beatrice, 60, adjusts her glasses, her smile tight. Clara sets out plates, her eyes catching mine with a warmth that feels like an ally. "Looks amazing, Liora," she says, but George snorts. "Hope it's better than last year's dry bird," he says, and Beatrice chuckles a jab that lands like always. The emotional roller coaster shifts from tension to unease, their words a reminder of my failure. But the letter's words, founder hope, spark intrigue, a faint light in the dark. The dining room glows under the chandelier's soft light, the Montana ranch house alive with the warmth of Thanksgiving 2025. The aroma of roasted turkey and sage stuffing curls through the air, mingling with the faint crackle of the fireplace. The long oak table, a communal harvest table in true Montana tradition, is draped in my mother's linen, its edges frayed like my nerves. I'm Liora, and this dinner, my family's first in years, feels like a tightrope walk. George, Beatrice, and Clara chatter near the kitchen, their voices a mix of familiarity and strain. The letter from the attic, still tucked in my pocket, burns with questions I can't yet voice. I move around the table, setting out heirloom plates, each one heavy with memory. My hands tremble slightly, the weight of their judgment settling in my chest. They think I failed my nonprofit, my dreams, my place in this family. The loneliness is a quiet shadow deepened by their dismissal, by the world's rush toward technology I fumble with. I'm not enough, not anymore, and the thought stings like frost on bare skin. Liora, need a hand. Clara calls her voice a lifeline. She steps in her auburn hair, catching the light, and starts arranging silverware. At 52, she's new to this family, unburdened by our history. I've got it, I say, forcing a smile. A silent scene where my lips curve, but my eyes don't follow. Just making sure it's perfect. George lumbers in his rancher's frame, filling the doorway. Perfect, huh? Like that charity thing you wasted years on. His laugh is a blade casual, but cutting. Beatrice follows her glasses, glinting as she nods a motif repetition of their judgment. Really, Liora, you could have helped George with the ranch instead, she says, her tone sharp. The words land like stones, and I grip a plate, a signature emotional moment. It's cool porcelain grounding me as my heart races. Not good enough. The emotional trigger echoes in my mind. They see me as a shadow of who I was, not the woman who built something real. My monologue churns. I poured my soul into that nonprofit, gave families hope, but to them, it's nothing. Why can't they see me? Clara glances at me, her eyes softening. I bet that work meant a lot to someone, she says, but George snorts, pouring himself a drink. Meant a lot of wasted time, he mutters. Beatrice adjusts a napkin, her silence louder than words. I swallow the hurt, setting down the plate with a clink. Compassion. I think a lesson stirring. They're flawed like me. Maybe if I speak, if we talk, we can bridge this gap. The solution feels distant, but dialogue is all I have. The emotional roller coaster shifts from the comfort of family to the tension of their words, a weight I carry alone. Inside, the clatter of dishes resumes, their voices muffled but sharp. Compassion could mend this, I think, a lesson flickering through the pain. They're wrong, but they're family. If we talk, really talk, maybe we can find a way. Dialogue is the solution, but it feels impossible now, like shouting into a blizzard. The Montana tradition of sharing leftover pie with neighbors crosses my mind, a gesture of community I cling to, even as my own family feels like strangers. The Montana ranch wakes under a quiet dawn, November 2025. The fields blanketed in frost that sparkles like scattered diamonds. Snow dusts the porch where I stand, the air sharp with pine and the faint, lingering scent of last night's bonfire. Inside the house is still the dining room's chaos, my slammed glass, the family's stunned faces hanging like a ghost. I'm Liora, 62, and the letter in my pocket naming me founder feels heavier after George's mockery and Beatrice's cold agreement. The loneliness is a raw wound deepened by their rejection and my own faltering place in a world of apps and screens I can't navigate. But Clara's gentle words last night, a faint defense against their scorn, linger like a lifeline. I sip coffee, the mug warm in my hands, part of Montana's morning coffee ritual, where neighbors share stories over steaming cups. The porch creaks under my boots, and I stare at the horizon, the vastness mirroring the distance between me and my family. Last night's argument fractured us, and I'm not sure we can mend it. Yet the letter's words, you gave us hope, stir something stubborn inside me, a refusal to let their judgment win. Clara steps out, her coat bundled tight, her auburn hair catching the pale sunlight. Morning, Liora, she says, her voice soft but steady. At 52, she's an outsider to our family's scars, and her kindness feels like a bridge I'm afraid to cross. You okay after everything? I nod, but my throat tightens. Just needed air, I say, my voice rough. Last night was... I trail off the memory of George's laugh and Beatrice's nod, cutting fresh. Clara leans against the railing, her eyes searching mine. They were harsh, but I think there's more to your story. That non-profit mind, if I look into it. Her offer is an emotional hook, a spark in the dark, and I feel a cautious hope, the emotional roller coaster shifting from despair to possibility. Records are in the study, I say, leading her inside. The study smells of old books and dust shelves lined with files from my nonprofit days. Clara pulls a box, her hands deft as she sifts through papers. I watch my heart thudding, the letter's mystery pulling me forward. She pauses, holding up a faded thank you note. A symbolic object, its edges curled like a memory. "Liora, look at this," she says. A letter revealed that stops my breath. "From a family you helped in 2012. They call you their savior." I take the note, my fingers trembling, a signature emotional moment. The words blur through sudden tears. "Your nonprofit gave us a home, Liora. We'll never forget you." The spark of my old purpose flares, a reminder of who I was before I let their judgment dim me. "They don't know," my monologue whispers, but Clara sees it. Maybe I'm not as lost as I thought. The hope is fragile, but it's there, countering the loneliness that's kept me adrift. Clara smiles, pulling out her phone. "Let's check online, see what else is out there." She opens the family's app, a jumble of notifications I've never mastered, a subplot of tech struggle. I try to follow, my fingers clumsy on my own screen, and the social issue of loneliness surfaces as I fumble. "This thing hates me," I mutter, and Clara laughs, a warm sound that eases the sting. "Here like this," she says, guiding my thumb to the right icon. The app loads a post about my nonprofit's early days, a grainy photo of me handing out supplies. "You were incredible," Clara says, and I feel a flush of pride tempered by the family's absence from that memory. Resilience keeps me going. I think a lesson taking root. Their words hurt, but I built something real. I can't stop now. The solution is clear. Reconciliation starts with Clara's empathetic dialogue, a step toward mending what's broken. We sit sorting more files, each one a piece of my past I'd buried. George's voice echoes from the kitchen, gruff and distant, a reminder of the fight ahead. I glance at my phone again, a text from Mrs. Larson. "Thanks for checking, Liora. Feeling a bit better." Her caregiving needs tug at me, grounding me even as hope flickers. The Montana morning unfolds, neighbors sipping coffee across fences, a ritual that promises community I crave with my family. The Montana ranch lies hushed under a gray afternoon sky. Thanksgiving 2025. The frost on the fields glinting like shattered glass. Inside, the attic's dim light filters through a dusty window, casting long shadows over boxes and forgotten relics. The air smells of aged wood and secrets the ranch house's heart, where I've retreated with Clara. I'm Liora, 62. My fingers tracing the letter from Founder Hope, its words a fragile shield against the family's judgment. George's mockery and Beatrice's cold agreement from last night's dinner still sting, but Clara's discovery of the thank you note this morning sparked hope. Now, as we sift through nonprofit records, that hope teeters on the edge of something darker. I sit on an old trunk, the attic's chill seeping through my sweater. Clara, 52, kneels beside a crate, her auburn hair tucked behind her ears as she pulls out faded files. Her presence is a quiet anchor, a contrast to the loneliness that shadowed me. Loneliness sharpened by my family's dismissal and my struggles with a world of apps I can't master. The letter in my pocket feels heavier, its mystery a pulse I can't ignore. "Liora, you need to see this," Clara says, her voice low. An emotional hook that snaps my attention. She holds a yellowed ledger, its pages marked with Beatrice's precise handwriting. My heart skips a premonition of something seismic. It's about your nonprofit. Clara continues, her eyes steady but grave. "Beatrice. She kept records of its success donations, families helped all of it, but she hid them." I take the ledger, my hands trembling. The numbers blur, thousands in aid, hundreds of lives touched. My work, I think my monologue reeling. It wasn't a failure, it was everything. But Clara's next words hit like a thunderclap, the high-stakes scene unfolding. "Beatrice buried it all, Liora. She told me this morning she did it to protect George's pride, to keep him from feeling overshadowed by you." The plot twist lands dual-layered: Beatrice's betrayal, personal and cruel, tied to family pride, a cultural weight in this ranching world. I gasp, the air thinning. "Beatrice," I whisper, clutching the letter, a signature emotional moment. Its ink a lifeline as my trust in her shatters. She knew my thoughts scream. She knew I was the founder, and she let them call me a failure. The emotional roller coaster plunges from hope to shock, the family's divide, now a chasm. A flashback cuts through. It's 2015, and I'm in the dining room, exhausted but proud, telling Beatrice about a nonprofit grant. Her smile is tight, her eyes flicking to George, who's silent, his jaw set. "That's nice, Liora," she says, but her tone is clipped and she changes the subject. Back in the attic, the memory stings. Beatrice's decision to hide my success to shield George's ego was deliberate. "Why?" asks Clara, my voice breaking. "Why would she do this?" Clara sighs. Setting down a file. She thought it kept the family together. George was struggling ranch debt's pride. She didn't want him feeling less than you. Her words are gentle, but they don't soften the betrayal. The social issue of loneliness surges. I'm not just isolated by judgment, but by Beatrice's calculated silence, a wall between me and the truth. Justice demands the truth, I think, a lesson forming. She hid my legacy, but it's mine to reclaim. Dialogue is the solution. A confrontation with Beatrice I can't avoid, but the thought of facing her, of unraveling years of lies, feels like stepping into a storm. My phone buzzes, a subplot of caregiving, breaking the tension. Mrs. Larson texts, "Liora, can you bring meds later?" Her frailty pulls at me, a distraction I cling to amid the shock. I reply, my fingers shaking, promising a visit, but my mind is elsewhere, tangled in Beatrice's betrayal. Clara touches my arm. "We'll figure this out," she says. Her voice a quiet promise. I nod, but the attic feels smaller, the shadows deeper. Downstairs, the family's voices drift up George's laugh, a stark reminder of the rift. The Montana tradition of afternoon storytelling by the fire looms tales of ranchers and resilience, but today it feels like a stage for secrets. The Montana ranch is cloaked in evening's hush. Thanksgiving 2025. The attic, a shadowed sanctuary where I've fled. The air is heavy with dust and the faint creak of rafters, the dim glow of a single bulb barely piercing the gloom. Outside, snow falls softly, blanketing the fields in silence. But inside, my heart is a storm. I'm Liora, 62, sitting on a creaking chair, the letter from the attic founder, hope clutched in my trembling hands. Clara's revelation this afternoon that Beatrice hid my nonprofit success to protect George's pride has shattered me. The family's judgment, once a wound, now feels like a betrayal that's erased my legacy. The loneliness, a constant ache, peaks here, leaving me forsaken in my own home. I trace the letter's faded ink, its words blurring as tears well, a signature emotional moment. They abandon me. My monologue keens the main emotional trigger of abandonment swelling. Beatrice knew I built something real, saved families, but she let them call me a failure. George, Beatrice. They've erased who I am. The pain is raw, a hollowing sadness that makes the attic feel like a tomb for my dreams. The emotional roller coaster plunges from the shock of Beatrice's betrayal to this crushing despair, my legacy seemingly lost to their silence. The attic door creaks, and Beatrice steps in. Her glasses catching the light, her face is tight, her usual poise fraying. "Liora, we need to talk," she says, her voice clipped but unsteady. I look up, tears streaking my face. The silent scene heavy with unspoken hurt. Her presence is a motif repetition of the family's dismissal, from George's mockery to her own jabs, now sharpened by her secret. "Why, Beatrice?" I ask, my voice breaking. "You knew what the nonprofit did. Families fed, homes saved. Why hide it? Why let them think I failed?" The words spill raw and jagged, a plea for answers. She shifts her hands, twisting. "It wasn't about you, Liora. George was drowning ranch debts, his pride. If he knew how much you'd done, he'd have broken." Her excuse feels thin, a shield for her betrayal, and my sadness deepens. The social issue of loneliness engulfs me. I'm not just abandoned by her actions, but by the family's refusal to see me. Broken, I snap, standing the letter crumpling in my fist. "What about me? You let them erase me." My voice echoes the attic, swallowing the sound. Beatrice flinches, her eyes darting away, a guilty glance that hints at her protective motive. But her silence now is a wall, and I'm alone behind it. Compassion could ease this pain, I think, a lesson struggling to surface. She's flawed, scared, but she's family. Dialogue is the solution, painful as it is a way to uncover her reasons. But the words stick my heart too raw to bridge the gap. "Just go," I whisper, and she hesitates, then leaves the door clicking shut. I sink back into the chair, tears falling freely. A silent scene of solitary grief. My phone buzzes, a subplot of caregiving pulling me from the abyss. It's Mrs. Larson, my neighbor Liora. "I'm struggling tonight. Can you call?" My voice breaks as I dial the line connecting us across our shared loneliness. "I'm here," I say, choking back sobs, ensuring her safety while my own world crumbles. Her frail thank you is a tether, but it can't lift the weight of abandonment. Downstairs, the family's voices murmur, likely gathered for Montana's evening gratitude prayers, a tradition of giving thanks by the fire. But I stay in the attic, the prayers a distant echo against my isolation. Is forgiveness possible when abandonment cuts so deep? I reflect a humanistic reflection, the letter damp under my fingers. Beatrice's betrayal stole my legacy, but maybe there's a reason I don't yet see. I need to know why. The cliffhanger looms. Why did Beatrice hide the truth, and what lies beneath her choice? Night wraps the Montana ranch in a quiet embrace. Thanksgiving 2025. The attic's shadows softening as I linger in their hold. The air is thick with dust and memory, the single bulb flickering like a heartbeat. Outside, the snow has stopped leaving the fields, a silent silver expanse under a starlit sky. I'm Liora, 62, still reeling from Beatrice's betrayal and the crushing weight of abandonment. The letter found her hope rests on my lap, its ink a faint echo of a life I thought I'd lost. The loneliness is a vice squeezing tighter as my family's dismissal and Beatrice's hidden truth cut deeper. But Clara's support and the attic's secrets stir memories, pulling me back to a time when I felt whole. I close my eyes, and a flashback sweeps me to 2010, the nonprofit's office buzzing with life. The room is warm, filled with the hum of volunteers and the clatter of boxes. Sunlight streams through wide windows, catching the dust motes as I move through the crowd, my hands full of grocery vouchers. A young mother, her face worn but hopeful, takes one, her eyes shining. "You're a godsend, Liora," she says, her voice thick with gratitude. I smile, my heart swelling the community's love, a balm against the world's hardness. Another volunteer hands me a thank you note. A symbolic object. Its words simple but profound. "Liora, you gave us a home, forever grateful." In that moment, a signature emotional moment. I hold the note, feeling the weight of their trust, their lives intertwined with mine. The office is alive. Children laughing, families hugging volunteers, sharing coffee. Montana's 2010 community potlucks come to mind, ranchers gathering to break bread, their unity a mirror of this work. I'm 47, my hair still dark, my purpose clear. But my family, George, Beatrice, never came, never asked. I told them once over dinner about a grant we'd won, and George shrugged, muttering about the ranch. Beatrice's smile was tight, her eyes distant already, sowing the seeds of her betrayal. Back in the attic, the memory fades, and I open my eyes, tears slipping down my cheeks. The emotional roller coaster shifts from the sadness of Beatrice's actions to empathy for the community I served. Their gratitude a stark contrast to my family's rejection. They loved me, my monologue murmurs. They saw what I built even if George and Beatrice didn't. The social issue of loneliness bites harder. The connection I had in 2010 feels like a lost world, my current isolation, a cold shadow. My phone buzzes, a subplot of caregiving breaking the silence. Mrs. Larson texts Liora, "Your meal was a blessing," feeling stronger. Her words, a faint echo of the thank you note, remind me of my worth, a tether to purpose, despite my family's blindness. I reply, my fingers steady, promising to visit, but the attic's chill seeps deeper, the loneliness a reminder of what's been lost. Downstairs, the family's voices are faint, likely gathered by the fire, their laughter a cruel counterpoint to my solitude. Community bonds endure, I think, a lesson taking root. Those families that office, they held me up when my own family let me fall. The solution is clear. Reconciliation begins by valuing what I did, by holding on to that truth. But the path feels steep, the weight of betrayal and abandonment still heavy. I tuck the letter into my pocket, its words a quiet promise. The Montana night stretches beyond the attic, the stars a reminder of the potlucks, the community that once called me theirs. Can I reclaim that legacy? The cliffhanger lingers a question that pulls me forward. My family doesn't see it, but maybe I can make them understand. Community strength could guide my family. I reflect a humanistic reflection. Those families in 2010 showed me what bonds can do. If I hold on to that, maybe we can heal. The attic, once a tomb, feels less confining a space where memories fuel hope. The Montana ranch glows under a late evening sky. Thanksgiving 2025. The fire in the living room crackling with a warmth that belies the tension in my heart. The air carries the scent of burnt pine and cooling pie, the remnants of dinner scattered across the harvest table. I'm Liora, 62, standing by the hearth. The letter found her hope still in my pocket, its weight a reminder of Beatrice's betrayal and the abandonment that crushed me. The flashback to 2010 with its community gratitude stirred empathy, but Beatrice's silence still stings. The loneliness, a relentless shadow lingers, though Clara's support and the attic's secrets offer a faint path forward. I stoke the fire, its sparks dancing like the Montana tradition of fireside family talks, where disputes are aired and mended. But tonight, the room feels like a stage for reckoning. George is in the kitchen, his voice muffled, while Clara lingers nearby, her presence a quiet ally. Beatrice steps in. Her glasses fogged her face etched with guilt. Her hands twist a nervous habit I've rarely seen, and my pulse quickens an emotional hook that signals something seismic. Liora. I need to explain, Beatrice says, her voice trembling, a stark contrast to her usual sharpness. She sits the firelight, catching the lines on her face, aging her beyond her 60 years. I stand arms crossed, the letter's secret burning in my pocket. Explain what I ask, my tone sharp. How you hid my nonprofit success. Let them call me a failure. The words carry the hurt of the mockery and argument that fractured us. Beatrice's eyes well, and she wipes them, her shoulders slumping. It wasn't just about George, she says, her voice breaking. The plot twist lands a high-stakes scene unfolding dual-layered. Not only did she shield George's pride, but she hid the truth to protect me from family pressure. You were carrying so much, Liora, running the nonprofit The Ranch Us. I saw you breaking under it. I thought, if I downplayed your success, they'd stop pushing you, stop expecting you to fix everything. I freeze, a silent scene of stunned pause, my breath catching the signature emotional moment as Beatrice's tears fall. Her confession reshaping years of pain. She thought she was saving me, my monologue reels, surprise flooding me. All this time I saw malice, but it was her clumsy love. The emotional roller coaster shifts, from the empathy of my nonprofit past to this unexpected revelation. Beatrice's motives no longer cruel but misguided. Why didn't you tell me? I ask, my voice softer, cracking. You let me think I was nothing. Beatrice sobs, her hands covering her face. I was wrong, Liora. I thought I was helping, but I hurt you. I'm so sorry. Her words are raw, a plea I've never heard from her. Clara steps closer, her eyes gentle, but she stays silent, letting us navigate this fragile moment. Compassion sees the care beneath her flaws. I think a lesson forming. She meant to protect, not destroy. Dialogue is the solution. This painful exchange uncovering a truth that eases my loneliness. The social issue softens. Beatrice's act, though wrong, was born of love, a bridge across the isolation I've felt. Clara hands me her phone, a subplot of tech struggle breaking the tension. Let's share your story, Liora, she says, opening the family app. I fumble with the screen, my fingers clumsy, the digital world a reminder of my disconnection. Clara guides me, and we draft a post about the nonprofit's impact, her laughter at my typos, a small spark of levity. You'll get the hang of it, she says, and I manage a weak smile, the act a step toward belonging. The fire pops its warmth, a faint echo of Montana's fireside talks where families mend what's broken. George's voice grows louder from the kitchen, a reminder of the work ahead. Can they accept this truth? The cliffhanger hangs the family's response uncertain. Beatrice's confession changes everything. But will they see me now? Compassion reveals her flawed protection. I reflect a humanistic reflection, the fire's glow softening the room. Beatrice hurt me, but she cared in her way. If we keep talking, maybe we can heal. The letter in my pocket feels lighter, a promise of truth yet to unfold. Snow falls thickly over the Montana ranch, blanketing the fields in a silent shroud as night deepens. Thanksgiving 2025. The dining room, once a battleground for my family's judgment, is now a stage for reckoning. The air hums with the scent of cooling turkey and wax from flickering candles, their light dancing on the oak walls. I'm Liora, 62, standing at the head of the table. The letter found her, hope in my pocket, its truth bolstered by the records Clara and I uncovered. Beatrice's confession, revealing she hid my nonprofit's success to protect me. Not just George shifted my anger to surprise, but the family's dismissal still festers. The loneliness, a persistent ache, isolates me even now as I prepare to face them with evidence of my legacy. I clutch a stack of files, ledgers, thank you notes, grant letters, my hands steady despite the storm in my chest. George, 58, slouches in his chair, his rancher's bulk tense. Beatrice, 60, adjusts her glasses, her face pale after our attic clash. Clara, 52, stands by the door, her eyes a quiet encouragement. The table, still strewn with pie plates, feels like a courtroom, and I'm both plaintiff and judge. Liora. What's this about? George grumbles, his voice rough, his patience thin. The memory of his mockery, and the argument that fractured us, fuels my resolve. I take a breath, an emotional hook that silences the room, and hold up the records. A signature emotional moment, my voice steady as I demand recognition. I'm done with your lies, I say, my words sharp, cutting through the tension. You called my nonprofit a failure, George. You, Beatrice, all of you. But here's the truth. I spread the files across the table, pages spilling like confessions. These are records, families fed homes, saved lives changed. I was the founder, and you never bothered to know. The family gasps, a collective intake of breath, the high-stakes scene unfolding. George's jaw tightens, his eyes narrowing. What's this nonsense, he snaps, leaning forward. You're dragging up old news to make us look bad. It's not about you, I retort, my voice rising. It's about what I did, what you buried. Beatrice, you knew, don't deny it. I turn to her, the betrayal and her protective motive raw in my memory. She flinches, her hands trembling, but doesn't speak. Clara steps forward, her voice calm but firm. George, look at the numbers. Liora's nonprofit saved hundreds. She deserves better than your scorn. Her defense is a lifeline, but George scoffs, shoving a ledger aside. Deserves. She abandoned the ranch for her little project, he says, his words a dagger. Beatrice nods faintly, her silence a lingering wound. The emotional roller coaster surges to tension, my resolve clashing with their doubt, the social issue of loneliness sharpening as I stand alone against their resistance. They can't erase me anymore, my monologue insists. I built something real, and they'll see it even if it breaks us. The lesson of positive justice takes hold. Truth restores my legacy, no matter their denial. Dialogue is the solution. This confrontation exposing lies. Though healing feels distant, a sound as trigger punctuates the moment silence falls after my speech, heavy and unbroken, the family's eyes locked on the scattered files. The quiet is deafening, a verdict yet to be spoken. I pull out my phone, a subplot of tech struggle, and fumble to post a scan of the records online, my fingers clumsy on the family app. Let the world know, I mutter, persisting, despite the digital barrier, a small act of defiance against my isolation. George stands his chair, scraping. You're making a scene, Liora. This doesn't change anything. His words are a challenge, but Clara shakes her head, her gaze steady. It changes everything, George, she says, and I feel a flicker of hope amidst the tension. The Montana tradition of late-night family meetings in winter where truths are aired under snow-laden skies frames this moment. The fire crackles, a distant echo of the bonfire from, but the warmth can't bridge the divide. Will they acknowledge my truth? The cliffhanger hangs their response uncertain. I've laid bare my legacy, but will they see me now? Justice can mend these bonds. I reflect a humanistic reflection. The file's a testament to my worth. Their doubt isolates me, but truth is my anchor. I just need them to listen. The letter in my pocket feels like a talisman guiding me toward healing. Midnight cloaks the Montana ranch in stillness. Thanksgiving, 2025. The moonlight spilling through my bedroom window like a silver veil. The air is crisp, carrying the faint scent of snow and pine from the fields beyond. I'm Liora, 62, sitting on the edge of my bed, the letter founder. Hope tucked away its truth. Now, a weapon I wielded in the dining room confrontation. George's defiance. Beatrice's silence and Clara's support replay in my mind. But Beatrice's confession that she hid my nonprofit success to protect me shifted my anger to surprise. The loneliness, a relentless tide, ebbs slightly, yet the family's divide remains. The records I laid bare, proof of my legacy, demand a reckoning, but another truth stirs within me, one I've avoided too long. I pick up a framed family photo from the nightstand, its edges worn from years of quiet glances. The 1990s snapshot shows George, Beatrice, and me young and laughing under a Montana sky, the ranch vibrant behind us. My fingers trace their faces, tears welling, a signature emotional moment as I face a truth I've buried. The plot twist. Dual-layered hits hard my own withdrawal. My choice to pull back from them after their early dismissal of my nonprofit fueled this rift as much as their judgment. I built the wall too. My monologue confesses the emotional trigger of unacknowledged sacrifice rising. I sacrificed my voice, my presence, thinking it was easier than fighting their scorn. A flashback pulls me back to 2012, the nonprofit thriving, but my family distant. I'm in the ranch kitchen, George grumbling about ranch debts, Beatrice fretting over bills. I mention a nonprofit success, a grant for local families, and George snaps, "Focus on us, Liora," hurt. I retreat, vowing to keep my work separate. My silence a shield that grew into isolation. Back in the bedroom, the memory stings. A silent scene of tearful reflection, my tears falling on the photo. The emotional roller coaster shifts from the tension of confrontation to self-awareness, my role in our divide, laid bare. Why didn't I fight harder? I think the weight of my sacrifice, my unvoiced pain crushing. The social issue of loneliness deepens. My isolation wasn't just their doing, but mine, a retreat that left me adrift. I set the photo down, my breath shaky, and Clara's voice echoes from earlier, her belief in me, a spark. "Clara," I whisper, dialing her from the hall, my voice low to avoid waking the house. "I need to talk." She's in the guest room, her tone gentle. "I've been thinking," I say, the words halting. "I pulled away from them, Clara. After they dismissed my work, I stopped trying. I let the rift grow." Clara pauses, then says, "That took courage to see, Liora. But you're here now talking. That's a start." Her words are a balm, easing the sting of my self-awareness. Forgiveness starts with me, I think, a lesson taking root. I have to forgive myself for hiding, for letting hurt win. The solution is self-focus, owning my part to move forward a step toward mending what's broken. My phone buzzes, a subplot of caregiving grounding me. Mrs. Larson texts, "Liora, you're my rock. Stay strong." I reply, vowing to stay connected, her reliance a mirror of my need for family. The act strengthens me, a promise to break my own isolation. Outside the Montana tradition of midnight stargazing, calls ranchers reflecting on family under endless skies. I glance through the window, the stars a quiet witness to my truth. Can I mend my mistakes? The cliffhanger lingers, the path to reconciliation uncertain. I've seen my fault, but can I bridge the gap I helped create? Self-forgiveness paves the way to unity. I reflect a humanistic reflection, the photo's faces softening in my mind. I withdrew, but I can step back in if I'm brave enough. The moonlight bathes the room, a promise of dawn yet to come. Dawn breaks over the Montana ranch, Thanksgiving 2025, painting the fields in soft pinks and golds, the frost melting under the first rays. The dining room, once a battleground for judgment and confrontation, now glows with the warmth of reconciliation. The air carries the rich scent of dawn coffee, a Montana tradition, symbolizing new beginnings mingling with the faint sweetness of leftover pie. I'm Liora, 62, standing by the table, my heart lighter than it's been in years. The letter found her hope is tucked away, its truth unveiled through Clara's support. Beatrice's confession and my own realization that my withdrawal deepened our rift. The loneliness, a shadow that haunted me, fades as the family gathers ready to heal. The table is cleared, save for a family photo, the same one I held last night, its faces now mirrored in the living. George, 58, shuffles in his rancher's hands, less tense. Beatrice, 60, adjusts her glasses, her eyes softer than before. Clara, 52, sets out mugs, her smile a quiet anchor. The motif repetition of shared smiles begins a contrast to the forced ones of signaling a shift from fracture to unity. I clear my throat, an emotional hook drawing their eyes. We've said a lot of hard things, I start, my voice steady. I showed you the records, my nonprofit's truth, but I also hid from you, pulled away when it hurt. I'm sorry for my part. George shifts his jaw, working. Liora, I was wrong, he says, his voice gruff but sincere. I didn't see what you did, family saved all that. I just saw the ranch struggling. I'm sorry. The words are a balm, his apology, a bridge across years of misunderstanding. Beatrice nods, her voice trembling. I hurt you, Liora, hiding your success to protect you and George. It was wrong. I want to help now, revive your nonprofit, make it right. Her 200-character vow, a tweak from D1, lands with quiet power, her redemption complete. Clara smiles, squeezing my hand, her belief in me unwavering since. The climax unfolds, a signature emotional moment as we step toward each other, arms opening for a group hug. The embrace is warm, awkward but real, our breaths mingling in the morning light. We're whole again, my monologue sings, hope flooding me, the emotional roller coaster soaring from self-awareness to joy. The value of family bonds triumphs their apologies, knitting us together. Let's share this, Clara says, pulling out her phone, a subplot of tech struggle. She opens the family app, and I take a deep breath, my fingers steadier now. Together, we craft a post, Liora's nonprofit changed lives. We're reviving it together. I hit send, the app chiming, and Clara cheers. You did it! The social issue of loneliness dissolves. Bridging the digital divide with their help feels like belonging, a victory over my isolation. The solution of reconciliation through dialogue has united us, each word a step toward healing. George pours coffee, the mug steaming, a Montana dawn ritual that seals our renewal. To family, he toasts, and we echo family, our smiles genuine, a motif repetition that binds us. I glance at the family photo, a symbolic object, its faces now alive around me. Will the nonprofit thrive again? The cliffhanger lingers, a hopeful question. Share your family story, I think, a call to action for viewers, urging them to connect as we have. My phone buzzes, Mrs. Larson's text. Proud of you, Liora. The caregiving subplot reinforces my purpose, her support a mirror of this moment. Bonds healed by dialogue are my strength. I reflect a humanistic reflection, the coffee's warmth in my hands. We were broken, but truth and love brought us back. I'm grateful. The dining room bathed in dawn feels like home again. The ranch a promise of new beginnings. As we hug, dawn's light warms the Montana dining room, our family whole again. Forgiveness healed our wounds. Resilience carried me through judgment, and dialogue rebuilt our bonds with compassion. Like the Thanksgiving coffee we share, love finds a way uniting us despite past pain. For you caring for others, know that listening can mend hearts. Share your family story in the comments. Let's heal together.